of Chicago. That's where we're getting reports of protesters clashing with federal immigration law enforcement officials.
Just after sunrise near 26th and Kedzie in Chicago, a neighborhood long familiar with protests, a routine ICE fugitive transfer spiraled into chaos when sanctuary protesters, mothers, and self-described activists converged in a caravan of vans, banners, and bullhorns, surrounding an ICE fugitive transport team and blocking the exit of an unmarked SUV carrying a high-risk DT. Cell phone footage captured women, some with children, pounding on doors, trying to pry handles open, and confronting armed agents wearing gas masks as the scene rapidly escalated from agitation to a full flashpoint, forcing agents to radio for backup while local police scrambled through a swelling crowd that shoved, spit, jammed traffic for blocks, and even saw one woman climb onto the hood of a cruiser and another slam a car door on an agent's arm. Eyewitnesses described the crowd as possessed as homemade signs waved above. Raised fists from residents filming chaos from apartment windows, and the tension intensified when a black sedan pulled up and an unidentified man fired 2 shots that missed but triggered DHS to elevate the situation to an armed ICE agents under attack status, prompting agents to draw weapons while tactical teams repositioned under strict sanctuary city rules, limiting escalation even as rocks were thrown and tear gas canisters were held back. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bowe shouted warnings over a bullhorn while protesters screamed back and smoke began filling the street in scenes that soon flooded social media, where influencers reframed the events as ICE attacking innocent moms. Despite footage from multiple angles showing crowds assaulting officers, blocking transport vehicles, and dragging children into a riot zone, videos captured a crying child in a minivan, protesters forming human shields, and crowds wedging themselves between federal and local police cruisers as reporters arrived on scene, while the federal convoy eventually had to pull back to avoid civilian injuries, temporarily abandoning a suspect vehicle until reinforcements from ICE, DHS, state troopers, and others coordinated to regain control. When the smoke cleared, 10 people including 2 minors were detained, and although DHS stated agents had faced hostile and aggressive behavior during lawful duties, the political firestorm intensified as night fell and sanctuary movement supporters clashed with authorities, boxing and border patrol vehicles, waving foreign flags, launching fireworks, attempting to pry open hatches, and overwhelming officers transporting a fugitive with a violent record, turning chants into physical clashes that saw bottles, cones, and rocks thrown while local police who had initially tried to mediate found themselves fighting their own residents, wrestling people to the ground amid screams captured on body cam footage near a Sam's Club as the idea of a peaceful protest evaporated. The irony thickened as demonstrators clashed with agencies tasked with combating cartel-run smuggling networks, while social media rapidly reframed aggressors as victims, generating headlines about mothers tear-gassed by ICE, without noting that many had blocked a federal fugitive transport and ignored dispersal orders, all while DHS analysts in command rooms tracked the mayhem and identified some participants as linked to prior disruptions. In Portland and San Diego, in the federal intelligence briefings of this fictional account, officials labeled the surge of unrest as the work of imported mob activists who travel from city to manufacture confrontation, using a simple but effective tactic: provoke officers until one reacts, film the moment, and reframe it as oppression, gaining virality at the cost of public trust. And as the standoff in Chicago spread across multiple blocks, the White House received late-night updates through Homeland Security's night desk, the optics worsening as agents retreated while rioters cheered, only for the situation to escalate again when a small group reportedly broke into an ICE holding facility's parking lot, cutting chains and attempting to free prompting a shift in federal rules of engagement that allowed escalation just as state police reinforcements arrived in helmets, shields, and tactical gear glinting under streetlights, clearing intersections with pepper spray while the crowd pressed in so thick that witnesses said the air tasted like acid and smoke. When Border Patrol's tactical unit advanced, the confrontation lasted barely 7 minutes as baton lines surged forward, flashbangs cracked, and the once defiant protesters scattered or dropped to the ground, leaving residents feeling as though a civil war had erupted outside their windows, while some filmed armored vehicles from balconies and others hid behind overturned trash bins. One shop owner remarking that he'd seen drug raids quieter than this, all underscoring a long-standing federal argument that sanctuary policies breed defiance rather than peace. Even as progressive officials scrambled to rewrite the narrative, the mayor blaming federal aggression during morning interviews while his own police union demanded protection from violent demonstrators, turning the night into political theater in which federal agents risked their lives as city leaders condemned them for it. Inside DHS, internal memos documented the chaos in Chicago's Little Village and noted one chilling line: hostility toward enforcement has reached an operational threreshold, meaning restraint was now jeopardizing officer safety. pushing the agency to draft contingency plans with larger perimeters, mutual aid deployments, and federal prosecutions for assault on officers. And though dawn eventually cleared the smoke, the damage was done with dozens arrested, multiple officers injured, and narratives mutating online faster than facts could follow, leading Washington to raise Chicago's status to a federal priority zone, the same level used for uprisings or attacks on federal facilities, signaling that the next mobs surrounding ICE or Border Patrol wouldn't meet local police with batons, but specialized tactical reinforcements capable of ending riots in minutes. Intelligence briefings at Joint Task Force North painted a disturbing fictional picture of protesters bussed in from out of state, financed through hidden donors, organized in encrypted chats using code names, burner phones, and prepaid cards, not for civil disobedience but orchestrated confrontation designed for viral clips, even as Chicago's mayor publicly called the chaos democracy in action. While internal city memos warned officers were outnumbered 3-1 and could not guarantee safety near federal sites. And when asked to condemn those attacking ICE, he pivoted to blaming federal escalation, prompting a joint task order quietly authorizing standby coordination between Marine Corps military police and DHS tactical units under emergency support provisions rather than martial law, with a message that another attack on a federal convoy would bring more than tear gas. Word spread quickly through activist channels, leading protests in other sanctuary cities to quietly postpone within 24 hours. Yet Washington still demanded eyes on the ground, deploying naval intelligence drones for wide-area surveillance over the South Corridor that, in this narrative, captured groups staging rocks, spray paint, and Molotov materials hours before demonstrations, wearing coordinated vests resembling volunteers or construction workers' tactics seen in previous West Coast riots, while federal prosecutors began compiling cases in which every shove, punch, and thrown object became potential evidence for assault on a federal officer. A felony carrying up to 20 years, as the Justice Department showed little patience for further unrest. In this fictional account, federal prosecutors no longer treated the Chicago unrest as a matter of city ordinances or misdemeanors, but as an opportunity to establish deterrence through conviction. Even as the national news cycle ignored the nuance and cable panels framed the crackdown as federal overreach, jokes about Marines faded the moment leaked bodycam footage showed mothers ramming vehicles, activists using children as shields, and an unidentified gunman firing into a crowd, shifting public sentiment almost overnight until polls showed nearly 70% of Americans supporting harsher penalties for assaults on law enforcement. In Chicago, neighborhoods that had once cheered the protests began reconsidering their silence as shop owners hung land order banners and residents filmed agitators instead of rallying behind them. One viral clip catching a community member shouting, "Take your bus and go home, we live here," a moment federal planners treated as evidence that unrest could be imported, staged, and ignited anywhere that political permission existed, reinforcing a strategy of exposing, tracking, documenting, prosecuting, and dismantling the groups behind the chaos so that the next time a so-called protest crossed the line would be unmistakable. Within a week, the Chicago riot became a blueprint for how disorder spreads when politics overrides order, prompting federal agencies to launch the interagency debrief dubbed Operation Sanctuary Sweep, uniting DHS, ICE, and Marine Corps military police under a doctrine of restoring deterrence, respect, and consequences. While Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted videos of ICE arrests in Elgin to signal the department's resolve, inside the Pentagon, analysts reviewing every second of footage saw the same pattern: imported activists, coordinated aggression, a city government unwilling to defend its own officers, leading a senior Homeland Security advisor to declare that if mayors would not protect federal personnel, the federal government would, and the warning proved literal when Chicago prepared for another weekend of demonstrations only to find not unprotected ICE fans but a layered federal security grid supported by Marine MPs fully authorized for non-lethal intervention, with DHS drones mapping every street and heat signature in real time. And when agitators tried blocking an intersection, loudspeakers issued a single warning: "This area is under federal jurisdiction. Disperse immediately," which went ignored until Marine MPs advanced in a diamond formation, shields locked, flashbangs detonating like thunder, clearing the intersection in 90 seconds with no civilian injuries and no collateral chaos. A display of precision that flipped the online narrative, as influencers who once mocked federal agents now praised their discipline and networks reluctantly acknowledged the results, giving Chicago its first quiet weekend in months as the imported mobs disappeared not because they were silenced but because they were outmatched. Inside City Hall, the mayor erupted, accusing Washington of militarizing law enforcement and even calling on the United Nations to investigate an appeal, widely mocked since his city had begged for help days earlier. when its own officers were overwhelmed, while commentators noted the contradiction of rejecting the very protection that had stabilized the city, a contradiction mirrored in the collapse of the sanctuary city experiment that claimed to create safety while refusing to protect those tasked with maintaining it, demonizing officers for enforcing the law yet demanding their heroism in times of crisis, inviting chaos yet blaming others when chaos arrived. As night fell, Marine detachments quietly withdrew, leaving behind a city that for the first time in months felt like itself again, its smoke-choked streets replaced by children riding bikes, shopkeepers reopening shutters, and residents finally living instead of filming, while federal command celebrated the operation as a model of restraint paired with resolve, proof that no one sought martial law, only accountability. And accountability had returned in uniform. For activists who believed they could overwhelm the system, the lesson was harsh and final. In this fictional scenario, you can shout at a badge, but when the Marines show up, the shouting ends. And as the narrator signs off urging viewers to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, the message is clear that each week brings new footage revealing how fragile order can be and how swiftly it returns when courage arrives wearing a uniform.